Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Eye on the Money, the television show that gives you insights into how to improve your financial well-being as well as make your money work for you. And we're well into our second episode of relationships with money with Centonomy. And today on the show we discuss children and money. Now, do you want your children to do better than you financially? Do you want them to keep a budget and invest in their future? Then financial education is key. A 2018 National Financial Capability Study found that financial education correlated with good financial behavior like saving, spending less than you earn, and being less likely to overdraw a checking account. The study reported that 49% of respondents who received more than 10 hours of financial education reported spending less than they earn, compared to 36% among those who received less than 10 hours. Now on the show today, we're going to discuss the role of financial literacy in shaping the mindsets of children and how they later look at money in the future. And joining me on the show is Maureen Radoli, who is the head of personal financial management at Centonomy. You're welcome to the show again, Maureen.
I can actually hear drum rolls in my head. Good to be back.
Absolutely. Actually, the drum rolls were really there.
I could hear them in my head.
Maureen,
yes.
Last week you did such a brilliant job taking us through, couples and money. Today we're looking at another area that people really don't like to talk about a lot, and that's children and money. And of course, we got to hear the voice of the ordinary Kenyan. Watch.
I think children should be introduced to money at as young as possible, because money is the fundamental asset in life. And I think children should be introduced at the age of 5. A child should start knowing about money, should start knowing about when to get money, how to use money, and probably know how to save their money.
From around 17, before they get to the adult age of 18, 17 is a little bit friendly. Because the moment they are out of school, there's a lot of pressure. So before they are able to tone down the it's like this and like this, it becomes a little bit difficult. But before they transition from 17 up, it's easier.
As long as the kid is able to understand, maybe you're talking about investments, when the kid is able to understand what you're talking about and to absorb it. For example, there are kids who are sharp, and you can talk to them when they are young, from 5, and there are those that you have to wait until they are maybe 11. Yeah, it depends with the IQ of the kid.
Most of the time, when you carry the kid to go to the supermarket, and especially when the child is 3 years to 4 years, and you are attending with her to supermarket or him in supermarket. So definitely the child will know there is money, and you have to give out money so that to buy something. So from age 4 to 5, that child knows about money. Yeah, so that's already that is introduction.
It depends with the age of the children when you think about starting to introduce them to financial matters. But I think it's very important to start introducing children to include them in the financial decisions at home.
There are decisions that you cannot involve kids, but when they are grown, you can.
To be grown up, it's 18 years old. So from there, now you can involve your child. But because from 18 years, he can start working. But down out from 18 years going down, she's not working or they are not working. So you cannot involve about of the decision of the money which you yourself you are working for.
Decision making sasa itategemea sasa kwa ile familia yangu kwa jumla. Kama niko na watoto 4, lazima niwaambie ya kwamba vile tumepanga. Kama kuna wale ambao wako secondary school tunawapangia, kulingana na that is decision.
It depends with how your financial situation is as a parent, because there are times you can involve them instead of making them, you break them, you know. But it depends with the level of maturity as well.
If the child is also like anafanya kazi na yeye pia na contribute, maybe saa wanaweza kaa chini waongee about vile financial itatumika kwa nyumba.
There has to be that right age when at least a child must attain that maturity age, and also there's the right age, at least 16 to 18. Like you find in Europe, when you are 16, you are considered someone mature. And here in Africa, it is normal at 18 for them not to feel left behind in the family financial structure and handling of money. They must be included, but still to the right amount of money, and also to that needed level that at least they can handle.
The education system of Kenya does not offer anything close to something substantial to the financial literacy in Kenya.
It offers like around 70. The rest of the 30%, you're taught by life. Life teaches you, yeah.
It depends with where you are studying, because there are institutions that are providing that fully. There are some that maybe even the teachers themselves are not aware of that need, right? So it depends whether you are learning. We cannot generalize it.
In high school is where we are taught about money, but not in depth. Maybe in high school we are just taught of how to balance sheets, but in university you're given even advices on businesses, on what to do, how to invest.
The CBC is working well for those young children, and especially the private schools, but not the government school. Because recently I visited the private school for their CBC exhibition, and they were able to show me or to take me through what they are doing. Even buying the goods from the shops, ABCD, all that way. So the CBC is working well for the children.
Now, Maureen, it's just a general thing when it comes to, parents, particularly I would say in the Kenyan setting, in the East African setting, in the African setting, the way parents relate with their children when it comes to money is not something that's very, very common, right? Parents like to make all the financial decisions. In fact, a lot of people will even say when you give a child a lot of money or you get them involved with money, you're spoiling them. Why do you think there's such a general perception when it comes to children relating with money? And in your view, what age is the most appropriate age to start talking to children about money?
Well, as early as, is there really an age? But it depends on the exposure again. Right. As long as your child knows that money can buy. The moment they know money can buy. And, when we go to the shops or supermarkets, retail shops with our children, they will see you exchanging money for a product. As long as they start seeing that, because children are very adults in small bodies, so they learn a lot through observation. So they're observing, so they are actually learning at that point. So it's very important to start having conversation as early as my youngest is about 3 years. Right. He's turning 4 in a couple of months. We've already started talking about money. So he knows, whenever he sees money, he knows what hits his mind is, I want to go and buy something for me. But you see, as early as that's as young as 3 years, you should actually start having those conversations and just making them understand, you know what, mommy is going to work because that way she's going to get money, and I'm going to get you probably an apple or an orange, or if you behave very well, I'm going to get you something more, like an ice cream, for example. Yes.
And I'm so glad you've brought that up. And going in that same line of thought, because you've said with your youngest, almost just clocking 4, and the conversation has already started.
It has started.
But in a situation of a child, the way you talk to a child about money, I would assume, would be different from the way you talk to me, Ingrid, a grown adult, about money. So as a parent who's broaching this subject of money to a child, how do you approach this conversation? What are some of the ways you can do this without being too overwhelming to the child, without it being too complicated, but with actually eventually getting the point home?
And as I had said earlier, that children learn from observation. So whether you're speaking or not, they're already learning. So they're seeing what you're doing and they're learning. So simple things like, we want to go to the supermarket, but before I go to the supermarket, I want us to agree that this is what we are going to get. So noting down what you're going to get. With that shopping list, help them. Just let them have that shopping list. And they're like, Daddy or Mommy, what's the first thing on the list? And she'll be like, okay, bread. Okay, then tell the child, go and get the bread. Put it in the shopping basket. So they've already seen that you already write a list. So you can never go into a shopping, a retail shop or any other shop without having a list. So that's planning already for them. So they'll see you writing, you go to the shop, get to the counter, and you're like, Daddy or Mommy, now we need to pay for what we have, yes? You can't just walk out from a supermarket without paying for it, yes? So they'll see you getting money from your wallet, or if you have a card, because kids know that card can also be money, can be a form of money, it's money in soft. So you go and pay the money, and they're able to see you paying that money. And after that, you actually receive change. So the moment they start seeing you do that, make sure you involve them. The best way to train a child is involving, because they are very, very smart.
Right.
Yes.
Even as we talk about involvement, how much involvement is too much involvement? And the reason I ask this is there's teaching your children the value of money, you know, coming up with shopping lists is one thing. And then also incorporating them in the financial decisions of the home is a whole other thing, if you know what I mean. So what would you say about active involvement of children in the financial decisions of a home? So for example, last week when we were talking about the conversation of couples and money, you talked about planning for trips, you know, getting the children's input in some of those aspects. Is that even necessary, or those should be ideally, you know, a role relegated to the adults?
No, because at that age, so we have started off when you're about 3 years.
Right.
My first two children, my eldest is 12, the other one is 10 years. They didn't have this opportunity because by then I hadn't learned the importance. But there's going to be a difference. But the moment I learned about the importance of just making sure you plan on your money or you manage your money very well, we started involving them. So it'd be like we are planning for a trip, for example, in December, which is already in the pipeline. So we've been planning for it. So they know exactly where we are going. They know exactly how much it's gonna cost, and they know how much we've been putting aside every month. They also have a responsibility in that.
Right.
Yes, because you keep on telling them, once we get there, of course you'll want to be bought for 1, 2, 3. But what I do as a parent is give them some chores in the house. Yeah, if you're able to clean the house, clean your bedroom, make sure you fold your clothes. Anytime I walk into your room and I find your room is sparkling, you'll earn. And you don't have to earn a lot of money.
Right.
You start giving them 20 shillings, 50 shillings, 100 shillings. So they're able to put that money in a piggy bank somewhere. And one of the things that we talk about a lot at Centonomy is teach your children to be kind, teach your children to save, and at the same time help them just make bad decisions with their money. Right. Yes. So what they do is, you'll realize that, of course, we are saving towards a certain amount, and then they're also supposed to save towards giving, because it's important for them to learn to be kind. And it's very important for us to start teaching our children how to be kind. So they know that this amount of money, this month I've earned about 1,000 shillings. So 200 bob will contribute towards my trip. So they'll give me back the 200 shillings. I know of a parent who actually taxes their children. So they're already bringing that concept. Yes, because if they don't understand that we need to pay taxes, they're Kenyans and they're citizens of this country. So we are teaching them how to be citizens. So they're given their allowance, but before they're given, they'll be told, you know what, we are taking away 30% or 16% of this money, because this is exactly what happens in our country. So you're preparing them to live a better life. You're preparing and setting their mindset very well. So they also need to take part in the responsibilities.
And now, even in that same breath, and the whole reason we're having this conversation is to lead to financially savvy children in the future, right? To mold our children so that later in life they just have the right financial habits.
Yes.
In the same breath, and even going off of what you've just said, How then would you say our money habits at home, right? The way money is handled in a household, what sort of impacts, direct or indirect, will that then eventually have on how a child handles money later in the future? And the reason I ask this is because 150,000%, the way my mom used to handle money is the same way I handle money right now.
True.
And I'm not saying it's the best thing ever, but I noticed it's something that somehow informs
you
how.
adapted to that,
Yeah, so I'd like to hear
yes.
your thoughts
Yeah.
on that.
This is generally what happens, Ingrid, when you're training children on financial literacy. It teaches them a couple of things, my tongue. A couple of things. So there's delayed gratification. We've gone to a supermarket. We have seen a toy that costs this much. It is too expensive. Like, okay, let's talk about a PlayStation, because my son keeps on talking about a PlayStation 6?
Yeah.
And I meant to understand it's about 150 Gs. I'm like, 150,000 for a toy? Honestly, no. So what are we going to do about it? We need to start saving. So what are you going to do to start putting money aside? Because I don't have that money. Even if I had that kind of money to buy you a toy, I'll definitely tell you, just please hold your horses. We need to plan for it. Right. So they, from the onset, they will know, you don't have to have everything when you really want it. But that now delayed gratification comes in. And you know, that has really affected so many young people today. People are going for quick fixes.
Right.
I'd rather steal money. I'd rather get a gadget from my parents' house and sell it because I need to buy this, or I need to go for a trip, or I need to treat my girlfriend. Because we are headed there. Because from childhood, you go into teenagehood, then from there you go to adulting. Yeah. Yes. And it can be very hard if you don't have the right foundation. Then you go to planning. So there's the aspect of planning. A child will learn planning. And these disciplines, these values will actually be translated into the other parts of their lives as well. So they learn how to plan. So they'll be like, okay, fine. Mom said, I need to save up money. So what do I need to do? Will I start washing the cars apart from the chores that I have? So that also brings in the aspect of responsibility, taking up responsibility. And that's why sometimes in our classes, when you're telling people, once you know where your money goes to, and it is not enough to help you, like secure assets or, saving up, you can actually start thinking of what else can you do to start making money. So that child starts thinking, okay, for me to get that kind of money, this is what I need to do. So there's planning and there's also responsibility. The other thing is they also get to learn is that money is worked for. Like you need to, it actually comes as a reward after an effort. So you need to put in a little bit of effort for you to earn money. And then we'll actually avoid a lot of things that are happening today, yeah? Like you must, the people who don't just want to work, because their parents are able to actually manage their lifestyle. We have seen instances where parents have, unfortunately, have passed on, then they've left a lot of wealth behind. Then what happens after 5 years? The wealth is no longer there, because simply because they didn't have this knowledge on how, or the skill of managing money. So there's a lot that comes into play when you start training a child on financial literacy. Right. So they'll start learning from the onset, okay, fine, I need to work to get money. I need to plan in order for me to achieve a certain thing. I need also to have goals. So sometimes when we're talking to my sons, because my eldest is in boarding, and when he comes back home during holidays, he's like, Mom, the money that you give me, I was able to actually spend, the first time he actually spent all the money. And we're like, okay, we give you that money and we're not going to add you any more money. So you needed to plan with your money. So there's that aspect. Now today as we speak, it's like he comes back home with a bit of money and he's like, you know what, Mom, I saved this for this particular cause. And I know in December we are going to be buying something because holidays are coming. I know he's actually preparing to buy a gift for his friends and his brothers and for himself as well. So it won't depend on me to be able to do that. What if I'm not there tomorrow? What happens? So it is important for us to start training our guys, start doing that now. Because most of us who get into classes much later, like me, for example, Ingrid, I told you, I was very honest with you.
Yes.
It's only about 3 years ago when I joined St. Tournament, I was like, okay, so you can actually learn how to manage money. But you see, if I'd started learning this concept when I was a bit younger, I would have been, Yeah, I don't know.
No,
Anyway.
absolutely, 100%. I hear you. And there's so much we're going to discuss when it comes to children and money. But allow me to take a very quick break at this point. And again, I like to remind you, our audience back home, you can always be a part of this conversation. Send your questions, send your feedback, send your queries to our social media handles at Metropole TV KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll take a very quick break, but don't go anywhere.